Hello and welcome to another episode of Sports Federation TV, the show that brings you all the news about all the sports federations in the Western Cape. Now, for those of you who don't know what a sports federation is, on a provincial level, a sports federation takes care of the sport that it's specifically catering for. So let's take a sport like netball, for example. Netball on its lowest level would be made up of clubs, which are affiliated to leagues, which are affiliated to a provincial structure, which is the provincial federation, which would be affiliated to a national structure. Now, in order to participate in a sport officially and earn Protea colors in South Africa, you would have to be, on its lowest level, affiliated to a club. Now, this show brings you all the news about all of these sports federations in the Western Cape. And sometimes we even take a look at what's happening nationally. Tonight, we've got a great lineup. We're talking karate, chess, and fencing. Joining me now are two seasoned athletes from the world of karate. We have Laeek and Salaama. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Thank you for joining us. Now, the martial arts itself is so broad and varied. You are involved in one specific discipline, karate. Yes. How is that different from the other disciplines?
So, karate is, it's very much about discipline. And I think that is why most kids end up doing karate for the discipline factor. But you also have many various principles in karate. Sport karate seems to be the main focus these days, other than traditional. So you have your kumite, and then you have your kata, and also you've got unison kata. So those are the three things that are mostly focused on when it comes to sport karate. I think that with the sport karate, the reason why many people also do the karate is also for the self-defense factor. With crime rate going up, etc., you have a lot of people feeling that it's very important that they give the kids that opportunity to be able to defend themselves. And I think this is why we've got an increase in people sending their kids to karate.
Yes. Now, Laeek, you both have Protea colors, so obviously you've got some impressive accolades behind you. How did you, for example, get involved with the sport?
My father was a karateka, or practitioner of karate, and I guess I was just born into it. Being the only son, I used to go with him to the dojo, or the place where we train karate, as a three-year-old. Sit and watch him at the dojo religiously every session, and I guess that's how I fell in love with the sport.
Okay, and you guys are married, so you went from watching his dad to watching you, I presume, at the dojo. Yeah. Did you guys meet through your sport?
Yes, we did. We did. We met through competing. Yeah.
Okay. So now, on what level are you involved?
Okay, so I'm involved in the coaching. I'm currently the Western Cape head coach. So that's basically where I'm involved now. I was also coaching on a national level, and previously I was a Protea athlete. All so. Right. After I've completed my days of, competing, I moved over into coaching and refereeing as well.
Okay. Are you still competing?
No, I'm not. I'm fully focused on coaching now. I feel that I've got, a lot more to give in that area, because my focus has now shifted, from my competing days to my coaching.
That's really beautiful, especially in the sporting world, to have seasoned athletes who are willing to give back in a larger scale, because when it moves from just focusing on yourself to focusing on the bigger picture. Hey.
Yes, exactly.
And with you, Laeek?
Okay, I'm currently serving as the chairman of the Referees Commission for Karate South Africa. So basically, my job entails me training and preparing referees throughout the country. I also serve on the African board as an examiner, so that's my portfolio in karate.
Okay, so you have children?
Yes, we do.
Two children, a coach and a referee in the house is focused on discipline, and both karate practitioners. Are your kids also involved in the sport?
They are.
Yes, they are.
Both of them.
Lovely. We've noticed that a lot of schools offer sport as an extracurricular activity in the Western Cape region. Do you see a lot of participation now that given that the sport is punted as an extracurricular activity at primary schools?
We do, but I don't think to the extent that it is required. Karate on schools has not really taken off in terms of becoming a structured activity. You know, we have many karate schools at primary schools or high schools, but it's just a independent activity that actually needs to be a structured approach, like school sport.
Like part of like the physical education.
Correct.
Okay,
Correct.
so is
Correct.
that the vision?
Yes, it is, and I think it will be much more beneficial for the learner or for the student if it is structured in that manner. Yeah.
What is the international trends? I mean, obviously being a sport that's originated in Asia, what's happening there in terms of how the sport is introduced? Well, it's more a lifestyle, hey, or a discipline in those contexts. Are you familiar with what they're doing overseas?
Yeah, we are because we're in contact regularly with various coaches from different countries throughout the world. Also, my wife, as a coach, she's in contact with those type of people at international competition environments, and I'm involved and in touch with the referees. So we're always learning and exchanging ideas, you know, on how to improve the sport in our respective countries. Like you said, it definitely is a lifestyle, particularly or especially in the East. You know, it's part of their curriculum, if I may call it that.
It is part of the curriculum.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well, yeah. Obviously, you know, this being Africa, with certain sports kind of dominating as well.
Correct.
It's a tall order, but obviously a goal nevertheless.
Yeah.
Salaama, now you're a coach and a practitioner, and with the children getting their list of all the extracurricular activities, ballet and clay play and all of those things, and with karate being one of them. Usually children, they know what they want to do based on what their friends are doing, and parents have somewhat of an input in what their kids choose.
Yes,
what would you say is the selling point for karate, especially for the younger children?
I would say it's the self-defense factor. You know, I encourage all sport. You know, I believe that sport is what keeps kids off the street. It's a very positive way of channeling the energy in a positive way. But I think what sells karate is the self-defense factor, the discipline factor. I think also it's a very good way for kids who are very hyper, for them to release the energy, you know, because, and also kids that I've noticed that if they've got some sort of instability at home, what helps them is, you know, punching on the pads. It just helps to release that stress, which is a very good environment for them to be able to release it. So I would say that is the selling factor for karate. You know, this is what makes me enjoy my job so much more, is because I've noticed that within the schools, there's a need for kids like that. You know, they're screaming for help, and you find them being the bullies. And they are actually very lovely kids when you get to know them. They are just really misunderstood, and I feel that they just need a little bit of guidance, and this is what we do for them, you know, when we offer karate as a sport. It just helps them to get rid of that frustration that they've built up. And once they tend to be very successful in the sport as well. So, you know, any child that is achieving, their focus then changes. You know, it gives them something positive to look forward to. So I would say that's basically what it is.
And is that, you mentioned Zen before we started the shoot. Is that one of the pillars of your particular martial arts discipline? Okay,
so no, Karate Zen is actually where my husband and I, that is where we train. It's the organization that we are with. The pillars that I was talking about was just, you know, there are many different styles in karate, so there's not one specific style. But I said that when we come together, you know, when it comes to Western Cape and all styles, then you've got various styles, not focused on one specific style.
Right.
So we are just one specific style within the federation.
Okay. Now, Laeek, how is, when we started off the show, I gave a broad perspective of how these different sports federations work. Does karate work similarly?
Yes, it does. We have a club level and progressing on to a regional level, which is the Karate Association of Cape Town Unicity, and then which is our regional body in, let's call it the Cape Town Metropole. And then we have obviously the provincial structure, which is Western Cape, or Karate Association of Western Cape, and then we have our national federation, which is Karate South Africa. So obviously, as you mentioned in the beginning, you have to move through all those tiers to eventually reach KSA and to eventually get your pro tier colors, and then upwards and onwards from there to the Africa Karate Federation, or UFAC as we call it, and then the governing body of karate in the world is called the World Karate Federation.
Okay.
So obviously it's quite structured.
If memory serves me correct, karate is also an official Olympic sport, hey?
Yes, it is.
2020.
In 2020 it will be for the first time in Tokyo, Japan.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So that's great news for the South Africans, hey?
It is, and the Olympic qualifier actually starts this year for 2020.
Okay, yeah, because obviously the squad will have to be selected in order to start the training process.
No, it actually works a little bit differently with karate. You have to qualify within the top 10 in the world. So on the international level, the World Karate Federation gives a platform for the athletes to basically qualify in something that we call the Karate One Premier League. So our athletes that are on top form and basically our national champions, if they are currently within the top 64 in the world, they are eligible to compete at the Karate One Premier League. And obviously the success they achieve there, they accumulate points. And after this 2-year cycle, if they are ranked in the top 10 in the world, they will qualify then for the Olympics. Obviously, there's a lot more in depth that needs to be explained about the qualification, but that's just it in a nutshell.
So basically, the top 10 in the world get to compete at the Olympic Games.
That's correct.
Okay, and now you mentioned about top performance in South Africa. How does Western Cape do at the national event?
At the national event, well, I can tell you last year's results were amazing. So our children, they competed and they won the national event. They were the overall winners of the nationals, and then the same for our seniors. So last year Western Cape took away both children and seniors. So
is your seniors
they've been
over
very
40?
Successful. Our seniors, they range from the age of 18
right
up to masters, all the way up.
Okay, so young people. The seniors
young
are
and
young
old,
people.
young and old, because we've got veterans as well. And then masters would be,
50 plus.
50 plus.
Okay, that's fantastic. So do we have any hopefuls from the Western Cape area to represent at the Premier One, did you say Premier One League?
Yes, currently we have 2 athletes that qualify to participate at the Karate Premier League. The one is an athlete from Gauteng, Morgan Moss, and the other one is from Cape Town. His name is Michael Du Plessis. So we currently have 2 athletes in the country that qualify to attend those international events that are trying to progress and qualify for the Olympics.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think it's good for South Africa that we have 2 hopefuls at this point in time.
Now, as a highly qualified ref and coach as well, do you also have the opportunity of going to those world events, international events?
Yes, we do. So I recently went to Paris in support of our athlete. So Michael Du Plessis is training with us, and in order to support him, there's a certain qualification that you need as a coach as well as a referee. So I needed to get my accreditation, which enables me then to sit as a coach on that level. And then the same for the refereeing. There are certain qualifications that you need to achieve to be able to go and referee. So that's basically
right. Development-wise, I mean, you spoke about the importance, especially for the kids who don't have much other options out there. Is there anything that we're seeing from your federation specifically, any programs out there in the areas that need it most?
At this point in time, I can tell you our federation is quite new, and the let's call it the executive have just been selected. I think not too long ago. So
Just over a year.
just over a year ago. So I think our executives still finding their feet and you know, getting our federation structured. With regard to the development component, we do have development championships for the developing athletes, but I think at this point in time most of the development is taking place at a grassroots level at each individual club, and those clubs then feed it onto the regional and then onto the provincial structure. Yeah.
Now everybody knows karate. It has so much. It's one of those sports that has so much street cred. You know, I mean, who doesn't know some famous karate person or something like that? So I'm sure you don't have much trouble getting people to be interested in this sport or finding it attractive. But I'm sure, just like any other sport, you do need some support to get your projects off the ground.
Correct.
How can the community get involved to assist you?
I think the biggest challenge for our athletes is the lack of funding. I think with any sport, you know, you need that financial backing. And this is what I feel is what our athletes are lacking most. You know, they are hardworking and very dedicated. The only difference between, you know, what our athletes are currently going through and most of the successful athletes on an international level is that they've created like a karate academy where all these athletes do is train karate. You know, whereas our kids, you know, they're either still at school or they're still at university or they're still having to attend work, etc. And then also they're having to, you know, financially support themselves with the help of parents, family, friends, etc. That becomes very challenging. If you look at the K1, which is the Premier League that we were discussing earlier on, there are several Premier Leagues. And in order to get to that top 10, you would have to compete at every single one of them, which is quite costly. You know, having to travel from South Africa to, you know, to either, you've got it either in Spain or it's in Paris. So it's quite a penny. And I think most of these athletes that are close to being in the top 10, you know, they are maybe able or they are just about making it to get to that point. But there are so many more that are left behind because they don't have that financial backing. So I think that is what these athletes really need. And also I think more exposure to high performance centers, etc. I think that is also something that, you know, which I think would be really basic at this point in time, but still they're lacking it. So, you know, facilities like that, if it could be available to them, I think that would be really great. Because most of our elite athletes, what we've discovered is that a lot of them are not even able to get past that national level. So they'll qualify, you know, they'll maybe even be ranked number 1. But to take it another step further is where the difficulty comes in because of the financial problem that they are sitting with. So I think finances is basically, you know, the main problem. But if you're looking at high performance centers, etc., those little things also assist the athletes, you know, to take it to another level.
Absolutely. How can people get in touch with your federation, like if they want to join or support?
Okay, I think if they want to join our federation, it would have to happen at a regional level because they will be affiliated through the region to the provincial structure. In karate, our regional structure executive and secretary is a lady by the name of Nicolette Morrison. They will have to get in contact with her. Alternatively, they can contact my club and I can put them in direct communication with them. Our email address is info@karate-zen.co.za and our telephone number is 08455 19901. So if they require any information with regard to the federation, they can just give me a call and I will pass on the correct details for them to be in touch with our provincial federation.
Okay. Thank you so much for joining us and sharing
It's a pleasure.
your passion with us in the little time that we've had, and continue to do your amazing work in your communities
very
and
much.
your
Thank you.
federations.
Thank you for having us.
And come back and share more news with us.
Thank you.
Thank
Will
you.
do.
Okay. After the break, we'll be back with another exciting sport. And remember to keep your cell phones ready, because again this week you'll get a chance to win a case of assorted Bashers drinks. So stay tuned for that announcement, and we'll be back right after the break.